Hello there, Qckslvrslash, and today I've got something special. It's been asked for, so I'm going to give it to you. Here is a bit of a walkthrough of my new Pajero Evolution. So starting out at the front, a couple things you kind of notice make this a rather unique vehicle. One is all of those lights are from factory, as is this big aluminum bash guard. And what this vehicle actually was back in the late 90s, Mitsubishi wanted to participate in the Dakar Rally as production class, not prototype. So in accordance with FIA rules, you have to build 2,500 of a vehicle for it to be considered production. So they took their normal short wheelbase Pajero, they gave it a V6, and they removed the live axle out of the rear, put in fully independent rear suspension, called it a day, entered it in the race, and won first place overall, beating those prototype vehicles they were trying to avoid. So I'm not sure how well this will show. I mean, some of the other giveaways of the vehicle are the huge fender flares with extra exhaust from the engine, but I'm going to stick this in because the front suspension is one of the unique components. She has double wishbones in the front, and the rear, sadly, I won't be able to really get a good picture of, but it is fully independent suspension in the rear too, rather than a big old live axle. And that kind of means two different things for me. One, it handles amazing. And two, if that rear suspension breaks, parts for it is going to be very hard to find. One of the obvious other dead giveaways of an Evolution, besides all the badging, is this kind of Sonic the Hedgehog aerodynamic finnery going on the back. And that is stock on all the Evos as well. So now we'll hop in and I'll kind of give you an interior tour of what is a rather small interior. So the inside, the only thing that really gives it away from the standard Pajeros is all this fake carbon fiber trim, which once again was standard. You're greeted by a pretty standard Mitsubishi dash in here. Nothing special going on there. You've got, you know, as all Evos do, a whole bunch of other gauges. It's got a decent climate control system, and then this one, the owners swapped out the old school tape deck for a much fancier DVD sat-nav unit. Sadly, this is a Japan-only unit. The frequencies are wrong for North America, so I can't listen to radio, and I have no navigation. All the instructions are in Japanese, so that's going to be getting swapped out. Now, you can see this is an automatic, and at first, I wasn't too sure how I would feel about driving an auto. But reading more into the Evolution's history, I learned that the ones that participated in the Dakar ran the automatic gearbox. And I'm guessing there's a couple reasons for this. One, it's just going to be easier on the Dakar. You're in varied terrain. Having that torque converter prevents you from burning out clutches. It does have an old school transfer case. And this is the standard one out of all the Mitsus. It can be switched on the fly, which was one of the rather unique things about this vehicle. At the time Mitsubishi came out with the Super Select transfer case, in Land Rovers and stuff, you had to come to a complete stop before you could swap it, whereas this, up to like 40 or 50, I can just throw it between everything but low locked. As for the seats, you've got standard Recaro that you would find in all the Evolutions, lots of side bolstering, lots of leg bolstering, and the front of the seat is actually adjustable depending how much leg support you want. The downside to this is I'm a 6'2" Irishman, and with how high the seat is up off the floor of the vehicle, my head is just brushing against the roof, and the bolstering is a little narrow for me, but it already is seeming to become more comfortable. So as we move on to the back, nothing too surprising back here. It's technically 3 seats, but as you can see, the sides of the seats fold down to give you a nice armrest and cup holder. And realistically, you know, when you look at the legroom, that's 2 seats back there. And if you want luggage, as I will show you next, the only way you're fitting any kind of luggage into this vehicle is folding the seats down. Now my full bag of goalie gear fits back here, which it's reasonable enough, and you can stack pretty high. But what I will probably do anytime I'm taking friends is just flip the seat up. Gives me lots of extra space, fit some golf clubs in there. Still fit 3 people, which more than enough. But we're gonna pause here for a second. I'm gonna go open the hood and I'll show you the engine. Here we are, back at the engine bay, and there's not a whole ton going on in here. It's a Qckslvrslash V6, 3.5 liter. The big thing that makes this engine special, and you can see the badge on the grille because Mitsubishi likes to tell you what's in their vehicles and really show it off. Same with the Evolution badging everywhere. This is one of the earlier examples of variable valve timing. The MIVEC variable valve timing system that Mitsubishi developed and is now pretty standard on all their cars. Well, this is one of the firsts. You got a nice big battery. There's not a lot else to show off. I do know that should I need to service it, that alternator hiding down there is a very expensive unit, about $1,000. So gotta hope that that doesn't break, but also I'm gonna start looking for ones that have potentially broken and I can get on the cheap and try to reservice so that I've got a spare. Beyond that, not a lot going on. I do like that it's a proper vehicle. I can check my ATF fluid, I can check my oil. You know, it doesn't have sealed gearboxes or anything. Everything can be accessed. And that's nice. Now, yeah, it's really tight in here. Getting some of the things out, if they break, it's probably not going to be a parking lot job, but it never has been in any of the vehicles I own. Now, as far as importing this to Canada, I bought it out of Japan, sight unseen at an auction. I had an exporter over there who would go to the auctions, look the vehicles over, send very detailed pictures. And as you can see, as I've walked around, this thing is pretty much spotless. There's 1 or 2 tiny little nicks, and I can say it's in better condition than any of the cars I've ever owned. Typically, a shopping cart or something at the mall has claimed my paint as a victim. Hopefully that doesn't happen here, but you know it will. So I bought it, put it on a boat, it came over, and I imported it. Now in Canada, we can import anything 15 years or older without trouble. If it's newer than that, it had to have been made for a North American market. If it's older than that, well, basically you get a safety inspection done, and some of the things they check, and this is where it can be difficult with some vehicles, is you'll see right here, we've got these E codes. Those are European standards, and you can see them actually written up on top of the light too. They're European standards for the lights. If this vehicle didn't have those, I would have to find either DOT or Europe rated lights to put on this thing. Now fortunately, the Pajero, known as the Montero or the Shogun pretty much everywhere else, because in Spanish, Pajero translates roughly to little wanker. So they named it something else everywhere in the world. Stayed the Pajero in Japan. Well, the Montero/Shogun, it was sold everywhere. It was an insanely popular vehicle, which means the components that Mitsubishi used to make this, well, they were rated for Europe, which means it was easy to get into Canada. The only thing that needed to be done is, you'll notice this little fuse here. That wires into the bottom of the fuse box. There's a resistor on that. It's got power because this vehicle didn't have daytime running lights. So those had to be added in. You basically jumper onto the high beams, put a resistor in so you dim it down, and anytime the key is in the on position, well, I've got lights. So that's a quick walk around in my new car. I'm gonna walk just over the ledge here to actually get a picture because you can just maybe see it through the trees. I'm up one of the taller mountains you can at least drive up here, and it's incredibly beautiful. Like, there's still snow up here. But before I go, one last thing. Oh, obviously Timmy's lunch was had because Canada. Let's start her up. And, well, it's about to talk Japanese to me. And this baby actually sounds pretty amazing. So I'm happy to share this with you. A little different from videos of warships, but there'll be a warships video shortly after this one goes up. So until then, see you guys later. And here's that view I promised. It was a little further than just over the ridge, a couple kilometer hike, which I definitely needed and enjoyed on such a beautiful sunny day. And from this view, you can see a good chunk of the lower mainland, though not all of it. And hopefully I can explore a little more. And if this is something people want to see, I can share some of my adventures in the Pajero now that I have it. Perhaps something, once I figure out a good way to film while I'm driving, I can share some stuff there. Anyways, as I said, there is going to be some warships content, so if that's what you're coming to the channel for, hang tight. In about 30 to 40 minutes, one of those videos should be popping up in your feed. Until then, I'm Qckslvrslash.